Hi, Dr. Mark Andrew Holacek, philosopher, historian, and Thomas Jefferson scholar. Today I'd like to talk to you on Thomas Jefferson and ideas. The title is The Thinking Power Called an Idea, Thomas Jefferson on the Right to Patents. As the duties of the various members of a president's cabinet were much less fixed than they are now, Jefferson was often asked by President Washington to do many tasks that would seem strange for today's Secretary of State to do. One such task was to oversee an office directing the granting of patents for new inventions. Strange though the task might seem to be today for a Secretary of State, Jefferson, no stranger to invention and a lover of ideas, was singularly qualified for the job. Here he was to be assisted by the Secretary of the Treasury, Alexander Hamilton, and the Attorney General, Edmund Randolph. A patent act, titled An Act to Promote the Progress of the Useful Arts, was introduced to the Congress in 1789 while Jefferson was still in France. After Jefferson's return and acceptance of the position of Secretary of State in 1790, the act was passed on April 10, and Jefferson was appointed head of the new formed Board of Arts. It was sufficient for a patent to gain approval that two-thirds of the three members of the committee favored the idea. That process differed from European offices, which tended broadly to favor ideas of the aristocracy. Writes B. Zarina Khan, the United States consciously created patent and copyright institutions that were intended to function as the keystone of a democratic society. Despite democratizing invention, the committee granted relatively few patents, only 57 in the three-year period when the law was in effect, and only 3 in the first year. Says Jeffersonian scholar D. Rob Malone, Jefferson and the Rights of Man, of the committee's stinginess toward patents. Guiding Jefferson while patents came to him for review was the belief that patents should be given to particular machines, not to all possible applications of them, that mere change in material or form gave no claim, and that exclusive rights of an invention must always be considered in terms of the invention's social benefit. Examples of accepted patents include improved sailcloths for ships, distilling techniques for alcohol, and fire retardants, as well as an improved steamboat. Jefferson was, without question, a natural choice to head the Board of Arts, as no other politician of his day patronized the sciences as did he. I quote again from Malone. To all who knew this man of limitless scientific curiosity and inventive mind, his official connection with the promotion of the useful arts must have seemed eminently appropriate. Jefferson himself writes to Monsieur Aumenard in 1787, as the latter has found the means of preserving flour more perfectly than has been hitherto done. He says, every discovery which multiplies the subsistence of man must be a matter of joy to every friend of humanity. Yet, in another sense, it is bizarre that Jefferson should be heading an office issuing patents, given that he was always against monopolizing of any sort, monopolizing on a useful idea being in his eyes a crime, especially in a developing country in large need of useful ideas. Heading the Board of Arts, he would indeed sanction something to which he was theoretically opposed. Yet, overall, praxis and duty to his country triumphed. In a letter to Madison in 1789, Jefferson, critiquing the Bill of Rights sent to him while still in France, offers certain addenda to that bill. One addendum is a right to patent an idea, but for a limited period of time. He has in mind, again, generational sovereignty. That notion that the earth belongs in usufruct to the living, he expressed fully and famously in another letter to Madison on September 6th of the same year, about a week later. He says, monopolies may be allowed to persons for their own productions in literature and their own inventions in the arts, but for a term not exceeding blank years, but for no longer term and no other purpose. He states to Oliver Evans some 2 decades later, 07, an inventor ought to be allowed a right to the benefit of his invention for some certain time. It is equally certain that it ought not to be perpetual. If perpetual, it would embarrass society with monopolies for every utensil existing and in all details in life. Now, Jefferson's cleanest expression of his views on patents comes in a weighty letter to Isaac Jefferson in 1813. The issue is a right of patent concerning, again, Oliver Evans' elevator, which is a string of buckets fixed onto a leather strap for drawing up water. Is Evans' machine his own, in other words, his invention, and do others have a right of usage? But Jefferson's concern is the machine itself, not its usage. If one person, for instance, receives a patent for a knife that points pens, another cannot receive a patent for the same knife for pointing pencils. Jefferson begins by noting he has seen similar contraptions used by numerous others. I have used this machine for sowing benny seed also, and intends to have other bands of buckets in use for corn and wheat, and even notes that such an elevator was in use in ancient Egypt. He sums, there is nothing new in these elevators being strung together on a strap of leather. If Evans is to be credited with any new, it can only extend to the strap. Yet even this leather strap was used similarly by a certain Mr. Martin of Caroline City, Virginia. There is, Jefferson is clear, nothing original in Evans' machine. Jefferson, however, has more to say, and he turns to analysis of the general subject of a patent for ideas by appealing to nature and natural rights. Many believe that inventors have a natural and exclusive right to their own inventions, which is inheritable to their heirs. Yet, it would be singular to admit a natural and even an hereditary right to inventors. Why? Whatever fixed or immovable, says Jefferson, belongs to all men equally and in common is the property for the moment of him who occupies it. Yet when he relinquishes occupation, he relinquishes ownership. Now, it would be strange to think that a person acquiring ownership of some property thus has a natural right to it. That would mean that no one has a right to the property after he perishes, and even more absurdly, no one had a right to that property prior to him having acquired the land. Stable ownership is a gift of social law, says Jefferson, and not of nature. The argument applies straightforwardly to ideas. Jefferson sums, it would be curious then if an idea, the fugitive fermentation of an individual brain, could of natural right be claimed in exclusive and stable property. In short, the argument for patenting ideas by appealing to nature is untenable. Jefferson's not finished. He has more to say. The analogy has its flaws. Ideas are singular. If there is anything that nature has made less susceptible than all others of exclusive property, it is the action of the thinking power called an idea. Each person possesses exclusively any idea so long as it is unshared. Once shared, it belongs to everyone. Moreover, an idea shared is fully possessed by all who entertain it. Writes Jefferson, he who receives an idea from me receives instruction himself without lessening mine, and he who lights his taper at mine receives light without darkening me. Now, the same can't be said for property shared. It is that power in idea to be shared without lessening its density which makes an idea a special gift of nature for the moral and mutual instruction of men. Sums Jefferson. Inventions, then, cannot in nature be a subject of property. With there being no natural right for patenting an idea, it is now a matter of convention, that is, a matter of appeal to law. What sort of law ought there be for concerning patents? The answer concerns the social benefits of patents. England, he notes, was the first country to patent ideas, and America has copied her. That's an indication of some benefit to the patenting of ideas. Still, adds Jefferson, most nations think that such monopolizing of ideas engenders more embarrassment than advantage to society. Moreover, nations that do not monopolize inventions are as fruitful as England in new and useful devices. Patenting an idea does not seem to extend its benefits. Though Jefferson expressly settles on no conclusion apropos of the utility of patenting ideas, his appeal to nature indicates disrelish of the notion of the social benefits of patents. Ideas are just too powerful to be imprisoned by patents, and to patent a useful invention, for instance, is to prevent it from full moral and mutual instruction of others. No better evidence of that is Jefferson's own refusal to patent his plow moldboard, which was awarded a gold medal for it by the French Society of Agriculture. If you'd like to read this essay, please go to my website, www.thomasjeffersonsage.com. That's one word, thomasjeffersonsage.com.